Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of Episode 3 from Season 2's What We Do in the Shadows, and it's called Brain Scramblies. Fantastic name, by the way. So, let's get started, shall we? So, we start off, of course, in the vampire residence, where we always start off, and we find Nandor being dressed up by Guillermo, and they're getting ready to go to a party and called a superb owl party, which is not a superb owl party. It's the Super Bowl party. But for some reason, he got superb owl party, and they're excited to go. And Naja and Laszlo are very excited because they get to see the greatest of all owls. And they're hoping to be able to see it, or maybe even touch his beak and such. And yeah, it's basically a celebration of the great owl, and not about football. So Colin has been sitting there trying to explain to him what it is, but they won't have none of it. And he goes, he didn't really try hard anyways. Because I wouldn't either. It's kind of funny that they think this is a big party about an owl. So it should be kind of interesting to see how this turns out. And they show Nandor holding up a pamphlet. I guess that was the invitee pamphlet. It's from Sean, their next door neighbor. And he's looking at the Super Bowl. He's looking at the football, saying that's the owl's egg. so, yeah, it's safe to say he's never seen football before. Guillermo's just like, mm-hmm. So off they go to Sean's house, and they're all ready to go, and they have their little greeting owl sign. So, I mean, his funny thing is they're so odd when it comes to things like this. They really are. And then Colin just goes along with the ride. So sure enough, they knock on the door, and here comes Sean, their human neighbor. And it's the first time we've seen him so far in the season. This is episode 3. And so he's the one who invited them over for the owl party, if you will, or Super Bowl party. And also, we get to meet for the first time his wife, Charlemagne. Now, Charlemagne is they both have that New York accent, and so they had that New York attitude, and they start arguing with each other, and of course, Colin is just loving it because that's what he goes with. I mean, that's what he lives for, this kind of energy. So it's a great start for him. So now we head back to the house where Guillermo is out hanging out because apparently he's been tasked with getting virgins for them. So when they come back from the party, they'll have something to eat. So, of course, he checks for virgins in his area. And he's basically sitting there contemplating about having Van Helsing blood in his... he's in their bloodline. He doesn't have to be a vampire killer. It could be a baker or something like that. So he's really, taking this pretty hard. He's been killing a lot of vampires lately. So, and we all know from the first scene that he wants to be a vampire. So this is quite a conundrum he has. So we go back to Sean's house, and there's Colin messing with the TV, of course, boring the sin out of everybody, and that's what Colin does. That's his thing. As you can see from his face, he looks very, very bored, and so are the rest of them. They finally get Colin out of there, and Charlemagne comes by and grabs Naja, saying, "You got to get out of here. You come with us, she's telling him, come to the kitchen with us, with us wives," and not just like, okay. So she has no idea what she's going to get into, but she goes with the flow. So the guys start talking, and they're saying that they've tried to get Nandor and Laszlo out, but they just, it's hard to get them out anyway. They never see them during the day, and they actually make the offhand comment of, it's like they're vampires, and they're joking. But Nandor and Laszlo don't seem to take that as a joke. So they run off to the bathroom, and they start plotting on what to do. And Nandor wants to kill him. And Laszlo's like, no, we can't them, because if we him, we gotta everybody. And that's what he says, basically. He goes, so Laszlo has a great idea of hypnotizing them. Him. Find a secluded spot in the house, they'll double hypnotize. And it can't go wrong. Of course, it's these two, so obviously it can. So we head back to Guillermo, and he is looking for virgins. So he's going through it all the sites, and he finds joggers, but she gives basically joggers are too fast and they're all sweaty and slippery and it's just, it's a pain. Incels, they're virgins, but they're kind of snippy. They're kind of like got an attitude. And he comes across mosquito collectors. He goes, well, ding, 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 because we all know that they got to be virgins. So he heads off and he finds the mosquito collectors of the tri-state area. And so he starts talking with them. And, tell him how much he loves bugs and everything. And by the way, as you can see it, sure enough, that is Greg Robinson. That one and only. I love that guy. He is so dang funny. Remember Hot Tub Time Machine? So good in that. He's so good in that. So he's talking to them, and something seems a little off because they're really infatuated with mosquitoes. No, that's just mosquitoes, but the ones with fangs. And he's like, wait a minute, what? And they show this one girl here. And she looks really familiar. Who could she be? We might find out a little bit later. And they expose themselves as vampire hunters. Yeah, don't drink holy water. That's just wouldn't work. I wonder if you would drink the holy water if it would hurt a vampire if he drunk you. Maybe not. Not too sure, but that's something to ponder upon. So yeah, they have a whole board and everything. And once they found out basically Guillermo was, cool, they showed him all this stuff. I think he's the first one they showed. Vampire hunting, collecting intel. The more more about the capabilities of vampires, the better you will be to protect yourself. so it's kind of interesting to see all the little things that they have written on this board here. And yeah, Guillermo is, like, as you can see, just happy as can be. Not really. So we head back to the house. And Laszlo and Nandor enact their plan to try to get Sean into a secluded area of the house. So Sean takes that as, hey, you want a tour of my house? So he takes him on a tour of the house. Meanwhile, Nadia's stuck in the kitchen listening to all the wives clucking like hens. That's what they sound like. Just that's what they sound like. It says cluck, 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 cluck. So she basically asked them. She's like, she doesn't understand how these women ended up with these potatoes, basically. And they explain to her that it's when they were younger, they weren't that way. They weren't that way at all. They were just they were really sweet and nice, and all of a sudden something happened, and they're not they turned into big lazy slobs. But that's the nice way of putting it. So then in walks this little old lady. Her name is Joni, and we come to find out it's Sean's mom, and she lives there. Well, she sees Nadia and recognizes her. And Nadia knows who she is. Apparently, she grew up in that house, and basically, Nadia took care of her. You can see her little face there, and Nadia talks about how she used to stick her to the ceiling, which is kind of funny, and how she used to scream and cry, and all the good times they had. And she's just saying, I know who you are, I know. And Nadia's like, she's crazy, I don't know what she's talking about. So we head back to Sean, Laszlo, and Nandor, and they finally come to the basement. That's a nice little secluded place, don't you think? And as he's showing them, they confront him, saying, we heard you say you think we're vampires, so you know that we're vampires, and we know that we're vampires. And Sean is like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as vampires. It's like, so they start floating to show them they're vampires. Of course, Nandor hits his head on the ceiling. And then they realize that Sean really didn't have an idea that they were vampires. So, we better hypnotize them now. So they do the double hypnotize thing. And they told him to forget. And one thing that stuck out at me when they were saying, you're going to forget this night or, about us being vampires. Laszlo says everything. And I went, wait a minute, that didn't sound good. Well, sure enough, Sean forgot everything. And I mean everything. His name, who they are, who anybody is. He's just messed up. He's basically... And Laszlo's like, crap, we overdid it. We really screwed this up. So now we head back to Guillermo, who's apparently they're having a little meeting, about the different terms for vampires. And they get mosquitoes, suckers, biters, the Fang Gang. And I like the last one. One of the terms for vampires. Pretty on the nose, I must say. Pretty on the nose. And then they start talking about familiars and how they're losers and they're just, they're pathetic and they just do their bidding for their masters, and Nandor's just not liking it because we all know he's a familiar. He's like, ugh. So we head back to the house, and Nadia goes and sees Joni and starts talking to Joni, and asking her about her life and everything. And Joni shows a picture of the guy she got married to, and in the picture there is a pennant that Nadia sees, and she realized that's her pennant. And she thinks Joni stole it, and because it was given to Nadia by her mother. Now, I'm pretty kind when it comes to people's looks and everything, but oh my gosh, Nadia's mother looks like her dad. Oh my god. And what happened was she gave Nadia that pennant, and like the next day she got eaten by a bear. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can, only Nadia, only Nadia. So Nadia's pissed. Nadia. Gosh, I'm saying her name wrong. Nadia. I keep saying Nadia. It's Nadia. And she's pissed, and she's yelling at Jody. Jody's screaming, and Nadia leaves, and goes searching for the pennant. And she's tearing everything up, looking all over the place, trying to find where the heck this pennant at. And she even busts through a wall. I mean, she's really looking for this thing. And apparently this pennant is screaming. It's a screaming pennant. The screams of her mom when she died. That's really heartfelt and really scary at the same time. So anyways, we head back to the party, and here comes Sean with, he thinks, a tray full of nachos, which is actually, it's a tray full of cooked batteries. So he is really messed up in the head. So Laszlo starts talking about the different stages of their brain, or their mess. When 3 stages of when they mess up a mind meld in a way. It's kind of like a forgetful thing. The hypnotizing. I got it all mixed up there, didn't I? When they hypnotize and they mess it up. There's 3 stages of it. There's one called weak brain, and there's another one called thoughtless sallies, and then of course the one that basically this episode's named after, the brain scramblies, which everything is messed up in his head. I mean, and obviously it is because he's watching a pitcher thinking it's the game, and and screaming out, "Why'd you give him a yellow card?" Which is soccer. So yeah, the brain scramblers are really bad in him, and now they have to figure out what to do. I mean, they have to figure something out, and Nandor is saying, "Look, we have to kill him." I mean, that's the only thing to do. And Nadia comes in, and basically she's saying the same thing. It's the humane thing to do. You have to, because if not, I mean, he's going to be suffering the whole time. So Laszlo gets the idea of, well, if we're going to do that, let's give him one great night before we him. So they decide they're going to give him one heck of a night before they end him, which is really nice. So we head back to the meeting place for the mosquito hunters or vampire hunters, and Guillermo realizes that they've never ever met or seen a vampire, and they're like, well, no, it's not like they're throwing a football around, going to eat a pretzel, and they're laughing about it. And then she speaks up, the one we say looks familiar. Well, we come to find out her roommate was taken by a vampire. Who's her roommate? Jenna! Jenna was a roommate. That's why she looks so familiar. She was Jenna's roommate. She was in the first season. She was there when she woke up, scaring the tar out of everybody. She was there when she threw up all that green stuff. Man, greatest memories ever. And she was there, and well, she wasn't there actually, but she was there when she disappeared. I mean, not physically, but she said one day she just disappeared, which you can thank Nadia for that. Nadia was so proud of her when she learned that she could actually disappear or become invisible. So now we know why she looks familiar. And Guillermo realizes who she was. He's like, oh, yeah, she's the one who got the familiar who got turned into a vampire, which is what he wanted this whole time. He's so happy. He's like, what a small world. So we head back to Sean's final wonderful night. And he's so happy to be with his 3 favorite gerbils. He really has the brain scramblies bad. So Laszlo's first thing to do is take him flying, which scares the living heck out of Sean. So the other two join him, and they're flying through the night sky, and he's just screaming away. And they finally land, and the next thing Laszlo decides to show him is his transformation abilities. So sure enough, he poofs, and he turns into bat and flaps around his head. Meanwhile, Nandor and Nadja are having the time of their lives because they think he's having a grand old time, and he's not. He's not having a grand old time. He's scared out of his mind because a bat's attacking his head. So then Nadja shows how she can climb walls and sticking up at the top of the wall, which absolutely freaks him out. So he's just screaming, and they think he's having a grand old time, and he's not. He really is not. So they have one more gift for him. It's a puppy party. Basically, how they have the ability to control the animals. And a whole bunch of dogs come flying around the corner, and they're so proud of themselves because they've done a good thing. At least in their mind they have. While he's trying to climb a fence, screaming his tail off. What is that dog over there doing? Where's he going? I mean, he obviously sees something over there that's more interesting than that guy climbing a fence. That's kind of funny, actually. So we head back to the meeting place of mosquitoes. And they've showed this missing poster a couple times now. They showed it at the beginning, and they showed it now. And they're showing it pretty close enough you can see his name, Connor White, and last seen this May. And it's almost like they're trying to set something up. What? I don't know. So that's really interesting. Just maybe something will come of it, maybe later on down that, the season. The season. So we're talking to Jenna's roommate. And she's pretty upset that vampires took her away from her. And she's very mad, and they're all agreeing with her, and Guillermo decides, you know what, I think I've had enough. I'm out of here. It's like I gotta get going. He's realizing this is a dead end. There's nothing more he can do here. And before he leaves, they want to show him what they were gonna do, and they have this crossbow, and they give him the crossbow. And I'm thinking, oh, this should be fun. And you can see 3 bolts there. And what happens when he pulls the trigger? Well, first of all, they show the vampires before they pull the trigger. And yeah, those are the weird-looking vampires. Actually, it's not too bad what they did. I like the collar up. It's pretty good, little fangs. So he pulls the trigger, and wham! Right in the head. Right in the middle of the forehead. Then bam! Right in the eyeball. And then bam! Right in the head again. So Guillermo is one hell of a shot and impresses the sin out of them. Guillermo's like, holy crap. And man, that Van Helsing blood really is pumping through his veins. So he's like, I gotta get out of here. But these guys are really cool and say, you need to come back, not because you're really good with that crossbow, but because you're a cool dude. And it's really nice of them to say that. He's appreciative. And he can't open the door. But when he finally opens the door, he uses all of his weight to open his door. And he's just falling over. It's a pretty funny little scene he's got there, just trying to open that door. So we head back to Sean's final moments with his 3 favorite gerbils. And they're about to squash his head when he sees his wife. Now, he doesn't know it's his wife. And he's like, who is that hot tomato? And they're like, well, that's your wife. He goes, but I wish. And they go, no, it is. It's your wife. And she calls him over. And when she calls him over, he's confessing his love to her. And as he's doing that, he gives her a bunch of stuff, from his pocket. But one of the things he has, as Nadia seems to notice, is the pennant. He had the pennant, and he gives her the pennant. Nadia's like, hey! And they realize, it's a sweet moment. Let it be. He basically having a whole new start. She doesn't know, but for him it is. So it's going to be great for her, which is really nice and sweet. They decide, you know what? Just let it be. Just let it be. It's fine. And it's a sweet moment, and it's like, so we'll see what happens with Sean. Hopefully they'll show more in the other episodes. So the next episode's coming up, and see how it's all turning out. So we head back in the house, and Colin's there, and he goes, come on, Colin, let's go. And he goes, hold on a second, I think I may have overdid it, because this guy peed himself. So Colin fed like crazy, apparently, and really, messed that guy up good. So we head outside, and there's Nandor and Nadja. And there, it's overall, it was a successful owl party. Super owl party. I'm sorry, super owl party. Even though they never got to see the owl. So they right before the episode ends, we see Nadja's inside the house talking to Jody, and Jody's asking, what's your secret for staying so young? And he goes, I have I know the secret for immortality. I have the ability for immortality. And she's like, oh, wow. He goes, can you make me immortal? And Nadja goes, yeah, it doesn't. He goes, if I do, you're going to end up like this. It doesn't make you younger. It keeps you just like that. Like that. She's like, yeah, I think I'm good the way I am. She's like, good decision. So basically, that's the end of the episode. And it was good. It was a really good episode. There were some funny moments. I like the other two episodes. Honestly, if I'm being honest, the other two episodes better. But this was pretty good. It's pretty funny. There were some really good scenes in it. The scene when they're in the bathroom and how, Nandor's telling them how they're taking, a nice poop together, which was pretty funny. And how they messed up poor Sean's head. That was really funny. And it was pretty good. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And we got to see Sean and we got to see somewhat Jenna, but we saw her roommate. And I'm hoping Jenna shows up. I really, really do. I hope we see Jenna. I do like the addition of the mosquitoes. I think they could be really fun to watch. Especially with Craig Robinson. I mean, that guy's gold. I mean, so hopefully they show more of them. I hope they do. I really do. So so that's my review of the third episode called Brain Scramblies of What We Do in the Shadows. And I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did. And come back again. And leave a like if you like what you saw and heard. And subscribe to continue on watching my reviews of What We Do in the Shadows. So we'll be back again, hopefully next week, with another review of the next episode of What We Do in the Shadows. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you all again. Bye-bye.